Hello, geometry, and we are going to get started with actually the fifth lesson. I know it says lesson 6, but it's the fifth lesson. And actually, the next two lessons are a completely review of Algebra 1. They do tie into what we just did in this unit, but yeah, it's all review. So I'm going to go a little bit faster here. So I want you to be able to write equations of lines from a variety of information and be able to graph lines. So linear equations are equations that make a line. There are three forms. Two of them, if you had me in algebra, I teach. One of them I do not. So slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. That's the one most people are used to. So m is your slope, b is your y-intercept. Standard form is the other one that I teach. It's ax plus by equals c. Big thing you want to see here is that x and y are on the same side of the equal sign. Okay. Point slope form, I don't teach that one, but some of you have seen it. If you had a different algebra teacher, some of them teach point slope form, some don't. But what it is y minus y1 equals m parentheses x minus x1. I will show you that one here in a little bit. But point slope form, so m is your slope, x1, y1 is your point. That's where point slope form comes from. Okay. So those are the three types or three forms. Transforming into slope-intercept form is a skill that you definitely need to know how to do. So what that means is get y by itself. How do I get y by itself? Well, I got to move 5x and 2 to the other side of the equal sign. How do I do that? 5x is positive, so I'm going to subtract 5x from both sides. I cannot combine 18 and 5x, so that becomes 2y equals negative 5x. I like to write the x term first. 18 is positive, so plus 18. Almost done, but I still need to move the 2. How do I do that? Divide by 2. Now, you got to make sure you divide each piece by 2 and then simplify as much as you can. You get y equals negative 5 over 2 x. 18 divided by 2 is 9. And now it's in slope-intercept form. Okay, we'll do one more of those. A little bit harder one here because of the minus sign in there. I'm going to subtract x. You're going to notice if you do this enough, you're going to see the same thing happen over and over again. I have a negative 3y left. Don't lose that negative. When I subtracted x, it became negative x minus 15 or plus negative 15. Then I'm going to divide everything by negative 3. There's a negative 1 right there, right? So I get y equals a negative 1 divided by negative 3 is positive 1/3. Leave it as a fraction. X. Negative 15 divided by negative 3 is positive 5. And there it is in slope-intercept form. Okay. Again, you should know how to do that from Algebra 1. Write an equation of the line in slope-intercept form that goes through the 2 points. I'm going to show you 2 different methods for doing this. I'm going to do one method for number 1 and the other method for number 2. I don't care which one you use, just know how to do it. All right. So the first method, I'm going to find slope. How do you find slope? There's a formula. It's y2 minus y1, so 10 minus 7 over x2, 2 minus x1, 3. Then you just simplify that. 10 minus 7 is 3. 2 minus 3 is negative 1. I'm going to simplify that a little bit more to negative 3. So my slope is negative 3. Now, I'm going to go over here and add an answer line. What I've just found is my slope. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in, negative 3x plus, and I'm looking now for the b value. How do you find b? Okay, I'm going to use my equation, y equals mx plus b. And I need to understand that 3 and 2 are x values, and 7 and 10 are y values. And I see X and Y in my equation. So I'm going to take 210. It doesn't matter which one you take. You could take 37 or 210. Does not matter. So I'm going to take 210. 10 is Y. So I'm going to put 10 in for Y. M we just found that was -3. X was 2. And B is unknown. Right? If we knew B, I wouldn't be doing this work because that's what we're looking for. We're looking for B. So now I just solve that equation. -3 times 2 is -6. And then I want to get B by itself, so I'm going to add 6 to both sides. 10 plus 6 is 16. So B equals 16, and that goes right there. So the equation for this one is Y equals -3x plus 16. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing. Actually, no, I'm not going to do the same thing. Same result for the next one, but I'm going to do it a different way. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put the answer line over here. I'm going to put Y equals, and I know I'm going to finish that up. First step is the same as the previous method, so find M. All right, so Y2, 9, minus Y1, 6, over X2, 2, minus X1, which is -4. Notice how I said 2 minus X1, so 2 minus -4. That's important. 9 minus 6 is 3. 2 minus -4 is actually 6, which reduces to 1/2. Okay. So 1/2 is my slope. Now I'm going to use point slope form. Okay, so to find B. So I'm going to find B a different way here. This one I'm going to use Y minus Y1, which I don't know what, I do know what that is, but I'm going to fill that in a little bit. M I just found was 1/2. And then it's X minus X1. Make sure you put X in the right spot and you put Y in the right spot. So if I'm going to choose the point that doesn't have a negative. If you had a negative, it wouldn't matter. You just got to be careful with that one. So the Y value is 9. So I'm going to put 9 here. And the X value is 2. I'll put that there. Now I just got to solve that for Y. So I'm going to distribute. I get Y minus 9 equals 1/2 X. 1/2 and 1/2 of -2 is -1. Add 9. -1 plus 9 is 8. So Y equals 1/2 X plus 8. So 2 different ways. I don't care which one you do. Whichever one made more sense, go with that. Okay. Now those are usually most lines are going to be diagonal of some kind. There's also a couple times when you have horizontal and vertical lines, and those can actually be a little bit confusing. So let's talk about those real quick. With horizontal lines, they have a slope of 0. And they start with Y equals. It seems kind of counterintuitive, but kind of just have to remember that. There's reasons for it, but I'm going to not worry about that right now. All vertical lines have an undefined slope, which means they're straight up and down, which is vertical, right? And they start with X equals. So, example, write the equation of the horizontal and the vertical line that goes through the point -7, 2. Okay, so the horizontal line, if you understand that it starts with Y equals, well, what does Y equal in that point? Well, Y equals 2. There you go. It's the horizontal line that goes through that point. Very similar with a vertical line, starts with X equals. And what's the X value? -7. Boom. Done. Okay. Now graphing. So to graph, you need the slope and the y-intercept, usually. There are other ways of graphing with standard form, but most people will graph using M and B. So B is 2, so that means that's where I begin on the y-axis. So the y-axis is the vertical axis, go up to 2, put a dot. The slope tells me how much I need to move from that dot. So from the dot that I just plotted, I'm going to go 1/3. Well, what does that mean? The top number tells you how far up or down to go. The bottom number tells you how far left or right to go. Now you have to know the directions. These are both positive. So +1 would be up 1, +3 would be right 3. And there's your second point. I can do it again if I want. Up 1, right 3. And you get yourself a line. All right. Next one. Slope is -2. If you're one that needs a fraction, make it a fraction. -2/1. The y-intercept is 5. So I'm going to go up to 5, put a dot. From there, the -2 tells me I'm going to go down 2. The +1 tells me to go right 1. Notice that negative is only with the 2. It's not both with the 2 and the 1. If you look at that line, it's going downhill. If you look at the blue line that I just drew, that's going uphill. Should make sense. The slope on the number 1 was positive. It's going uphill. The slope on number 2 is negative. It's going downhill. Okay, it's a good way to check to make sure you're graphing it correctly. All right, y equals 3/4 x. So the slope here is 3/4. The y-intercept, oh, there's nothing there, right? So what is it? 0. So it crosses the y-axis at 0. And from there it goes up 3, +3, right 4, because it's +4. And there's my line. Uphill line, like I expected, because it's a positive slope. Number 4, x equals 4. The slope, well, x equals, that's a vertical line, right? So the slope is undefined. I'm just going to put UND. The y-intercept, there is none, because if it's vertical, it's not going to cross the x or the y-axis, unless it is the y-axis. So where do I go? Well, it says x equals 4. So I'm going to go over to x equals 4 and put a dot. A little bit weird here because it's not a y-intercept, because there is none, right? And I'm just going to go a vertical line through x equals 4. Okay. Last two require some transforming. Number 5, that's in standard form. You could graph with standard form, but I'm not going to show you that in this video. And actually, this one wouldn't work very well. I'm going to do like I did early on in these notes. I'm going to get y by itself. So I'm going to do that quickly here. Subtract 3x. I get 2y equals -3x plus 4. Remember to divide by 2. And I get y equals -3/2. That can't reduce. So I'm just going to do -3/2 x plus 4 divided by 2 is 2. So I'm going to go up to 2. And now it's -3/2. So down 3, right 2. And there's my line. Okay, number 6, last one for these notes. It's in point slope form. Okay, if you understood point slope form, you could actually graph from this equation. You wouldn't have to do anything, but most people don't. So I'm going to go ahead and distribute. I get y plus 5 equals -2/3 x. And then -2/3 times -3. A negative times a negative is a positive. 2/3 times 3 is 2, so plus 2. Then I need to subtract 5, and that combines with the 2 over here. Get y equals -2/3 x. 2 minus 5 is -3. Y-intercept is -3. We go down to 3 and put a dot. Slope is -2/3, so that's down 2, right 3. Or if you put the negative on the bottom, up 2, left 3. Notice how if I do either one of those, they're on the same line. Okay. Again, nothing here should have been new. But if you have any questions, make sure you're asking in class because we are going to build on this with the next lesson.